Hi, everyone, and welcome to the first full week of December. My name is Christa of Practical Astros. I am here solo for the Asteri Sofia Kairos weekly astro forecast. We're going to look at the Wednesday to Wednesday week, the Hermetic week from the 3rd of December to the 9th of December. Since I'm solo, I got to just play around to do whatever I wanted. For this, I put a little collage together of Sagittarian themes. I have my lot of spirit and Sagittarius 1, and so I tucked it in here with the symbol of Mercury for it's a mercurial decan. Moving on to the first big aspect for this week is the full moon in Gemini on December 4th. The next day, the sun is going to square the nodes, and I can look at both charts, but they're happening so closely together that I'll probably talk about them simultaneously because we look at the sun at 13 degrees, 3 minutes, Sagittarius, the moon at 13 degrees, 3 minutes, Gemini, and we have the north node at Pisces at 13 degrees and the south node in Virgo at 13. So this 13th degree mutable axis is squaring each other. The luminaries and then the pathway of the moon, which is the nodes, are all in this very, very tight cross. The sun and the moon oppose each other for this full moon moment. The nodes are always in opposition to each other because they're points of a singular pathway, and they are all caught up in this crosshair. So what will happen with the full moon is that, we have the moon as the luminary that reflects or steals the light from the sun. And when you have the moon reflecting that light, it is casting full illumination on the story. You get all of the information at the full moon. And sometimes it's just too much information to have. We think of Gemini as being Mercury ruled. It likes to know all of the details. It likes to be the investigator, to get all the tea, to understand all of the threads that weave it all together. It is an overwhelmingly information hungry sign. And to have the moon here, it is an embodied hunger for knowledge. And having this full moon moment squaring the nodes here and the other mutable sign of Pisces and Virgo, it's like an extra full moon because of this. When you have the nodes at an angle of the sun, especially when the sun squares the nodes, you have it in modern astrology, they call it a skip step, but it speaks to the sun as representing, the pathways in our life. And when we're at a crossroads with our nodal pathway, it's like being asked to make a decision, being asked to face the reality of being at a crossroads. And for mutable signs, sometimes that's a difficult thing to choose between two options, to be at a crossroads where you have to turn left or right. You need that third secret thing to just come in and disrupt the impasse of having two choices. That full moon with the nodes squaring it is kind of this moment of reconciliation, of making this choice. And just know that this is a pathway. This is a storyline. This has been unfolding for a while. This should not be coming at a surprise. That the moon grows in light every single day and goes through the cycle through the month. So it's not like it's being sprung on you, but this is a moment of making that decision. And so for mutable risings especially, so if you're Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, or Sagittarius rising, this is going to be hitting your 4 loud angles in the chart. It's going to hit the 1st, 10th, 7th, and 4th. And whenever there's any sort of transit in those angular houses, it's going to be speaking very loudly anyway. But loudly, especially because of the square to the nodes, loudly, especially because of the full moon moment. This is a very loud, mutable, full moon moment of fate. And so step into the fate, make a choice, know that you are being guided by the winds at your back. You have all of the information at your fingertips with that moon and Gemini gathering as much as it can from the sun and Sagittarius. We have Mercury, which rules Gemini and Virgo. It is out of sight to the moon. In traditional or Hellenistic astrology, you have to have a certain type of an aspect for planets to see each other. And when Mercury is in Scorpio, it can't see the Gemini house. And so the moon here has to kind of operate a little bit more on all the information that it already has. It's not going to be given direction of exactly where it needs to go. It has to learn how to surrender into the trust that it has all the information it needs to make this decision. So if you are a Gemini rising, or if you are a mutable rising, you come up to this crossroads moment in that first week of December on the 4th, don't try to find new information or new opinions, or don't worry that there's something that you're missing to help you make this choice. Learn how, or step into the idea of the choice I make is going to be the right one because I have all the information already. And it's not a matter of gaining anything new, but taking that action, taking the action onto the pathway of the fated roads that are in front of you. No one can help you make this decision except yourself. So it's a little heavy just because it feels like there's some weighted responsibility in the pathways of fate, especially for the mutable risings. And, you're going to be okay. You have support at your back, whether you can see it or not. It's kind of like little invisible angels on either side of your shoulder, just past the peripheral so you can't see them, but they're there. So that's going to be on the 4th. And then the sun exactly squares the nodes on the 5th. And then the next day on the 6th, we have Mercury trining Jupiter and then Mercury trining Saturn. The chart that I have up is Mercury trining Saturn. That happens on the 7th. And so they happen very closely together because Jupiter is retrograde at 24 degrees. Saturn has just turned direct, but it is still at around that 25 degrees. So they have been trining each other for a while. The sun trined it while it was in Scorpio. Now Mercury is trining it again because Mercury went retrograde in Scorpio and now is going forward and kind of hitting that trine again. Mercury is making that connection with Jupiter and Saturn. It's also going to be trining the moon on the 7th after it is trine Jupiter. So there's still a lot of watery momentum and connection that Mercury is making now that Mercury has gone direct. It's gone through some sort of renewal, as retrogrades often do for a planet. So that Mercury that rules the Gemini moon of the full moon is moving forward and is kind of bringing forward maybe some answers that will help reiterate the support of the choices that are made on that Gemini full moon. It's like you just have to trust on the full moon that you're going to make the right choice, and the confirmation will come a few days later. This Mercury trining Jupiter is a really affirming, supportive, momentous connection that it has with the greater benefic, with Jupiter, with an exalted Jupiter in Cancer. And that Jupiter rules the sun in Sagittarius. It rules Mars and Venus, who are in Sagittarius. It rules Saturn and Neptune, which are over there in Pisces. So that Jupiter has a lot of heavy lifting currently in the sky, and having Mercury trine it, giving it another pathway of support and momentum for that retrograde exalted Jupiter to share its information. The trine is the nature of Jupiter. It's about supporting in a watery nature, that support. And Mercury kind of clicking into that trine between Jupiter and Saturn here, I feel like will just kind of accelerate the support that Jupiter is trying to extend. Then we end the week with a little bit of a harder aspect. So while trines are supportive of the nature of Jupiter, squares are opportunities for growth. Is a nice corporate speak way to say, like, things could be difficult. You have an opportunity to grow when you have something that you have to face and make the choice to grow beyond or get over or make amends. Squares are the nature of Mars. The teaching of Mars is to learn how to overcome things. And you only overcome things when you kind of run up into them first. So Mars and Saturn are considered the malefics in Hellenistic astrology. They're the ones that give us limits and sever us and tell us no. And they're not, like, often they feel like the baddies, but we only have those opportunities to grow and grow out of our infantile nature to become masterful adults when we are faced with those malefic challenges. And when the two malefics come together in a challenging aspect, like when they oppose each other, which the opposition is of the nature of Saturn, and when they square each other, the squares are the nature of Mars, it's just tough. So on this day, on the 9th, it's a tough aspect. So we have Mars at 25 degrees, 15 minutes, Sagittarius, which is mutable fire. And we have Saturn at 25 degrees and Pisces, which is mutable water. So Sagittarius and Pisces are both ruled by Jupiter. So they have some sort of a similarity. They're both mutable. When they have these malefics in these houses and they're squaring off, it can be hard. It can be difficult. and knowing that it's not going to last very long, having some grace that things, if they are really difficult, the challenge is to step up to them, handle them with a grander vision in mind, not take it so personally. I'm just reminded of the 4 agreements, and one of the 4 agreements is don't take it personally, kind of stepping outside and looking at your own motivations when there is something difficult. Like, can you put your ego aside and look at it for kind of what is for the greater good for whatever difficulty you are facing? There will be time to put yourself and your needs into the situation. But sometimes when these things happen, it's nice to just compartmentalize and get yourself out of the way so that you're out of harm's way and you can do things without as much ego. It's not going to last for very long, which is good. Mars will move on. Mars will be exalted in Capricorn fairly soon. So Mars applying to Saturn maybe is just going to push this slow, watery Saturn, maybe just be a little kick in the ass, a little motivator for that Saturnian house. If you are mutable rising, this again is happening in angular houses. So this whole week, there's a lot happening for the mutables. So Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, and Sagittarius, you've got a lot of agitation. That full moon illuminating things, the sun squaring the nodes, and then you have this malefic squaring off on each other. Just give yourself some grace. So as we end the week, we have the full moon in Gemini. We have the sun squaring the nodes. We have Mercury trining Jupiter, Mercury trining Saturn, and then we end it with Mars squaring Saturn on the 9th. So quite a week for the mutables. I hope everybody has a safe week and a good full moon. And next week will be Mandy Ray of Ecstatic Astrology. She will be taking the reins for the rest of the month. And until then, may the winds of fortune be ever at your back.